Okay, so we're going to talk today about marketing plans. And so I invited an expert here, Randy over there. You can't see him if you're on, he will pop up here. So Randy, the only thing is, if you need to say something, come around here so the people it's being recorded for can hear you, the people who are online can hear you, okay? And the reason, a few things I wanted to make sure to remember to say. I deleted a couple of the assignments for this class for later because they were on creating a business canvas, model canvas, and you all had already done that. And the reason I had on there more than once is usually nothing disrespectful to you all, but usually people don't do those right the first time. And so then I need to tell them, oh, that's completely wrong, and they need to redo them. But you guys surprised me and you did do it right the first time. So there's no sense of having to do the same thing again. So that's why those two of those assignments are deleted. Second thing, if you're interested, and I know Victoria, I already told her she would be interested, but if you would rather like skip one of the assignments, like one of the quizzes or something, and interview an entrepreneur instead, that would certainly be something that I would encourage. In fact, I do have someone who said he'd be willing to be interviewed. He's enrolled at the Turtle Mountain Reservation, and he founded a company that does project management for construction projects. And he also founded a nonprofit for veterans with disabilities and without disabilities to be in sports together. So anyway, he said to be in sports together, because there's like the Wounded Warrior Project for veterans with disabilities. But he said, maybe you want to just play pool or do video games or whatever with other people who are veterans, whether they were disabled or not. So anyway, that is an option. So anybody's interested in that, you can either interview somebody you know yourself. I'm not telling you have to interview somebody who's Native American that's an entrepreneur, but I think that would be cool. And if you don't know anybody, I can connect you. I won't say hook you up because my children say that has a different meaning, and I should not say that. So, all righty, let's talk. So assignments, interview an entrepreneur. So we're going to talk about marketing plans. I have never believed that you, let me see, hopefully, I have never believed that you need to cover things, right? So if I don't feel like whatever the material was, people didn't get it 100%, I'm not like, oh, let's jump on to the next chapter because we need to cover a chapter a week. I think that's bull. And I looked at your marketing plans, and I think that they could have been a little bit more detailed. See, it's a good thing Jacob's joining here because Randy's here and he would know if he wasn't here, right? Yeah. No, I asked Randy to come in as an expert. So just real quick to recap for those of you who came in late, and everybody else will just have to watch the recording. I took 2 assignments off of the assignments because the business model canvases you guys did the first time was fine. So you didn't need to redo them. And if you would like to interview an entrepreneur instead of one of the other assignments, feel free to do that. So, and
how soon will we be able to interview the candidate that you have?
as soon as whenever you want. Dean messaged me and said, if you want, send me an email introducing your students. And they can interview me. So,
Okay.
so I could send you an email and introduce you to him, and that would be good.
I'll do it.
All right, so here I did not do the executive summary, but I wanted to go through step by step what your marketing plan should look like. So I'm doing an example here, one that's done, except I didn't do the executive summary, which I should have. California Indian Nations College. And I have here an expert over here. You can't see him, but I asked Randy to come in because he is very involved with recruitment, which has to do with the marketing. And as you'll see, he would be a person very involved with the goals and key performance indicators I set in here. So your marketing plan should start the mission statement. And so there's the mission of Sync that I covered up the website. And then marketing goals. Here's the thing that maybe if you haven't done these before, so I said a big goal for us is growing the student body. It's up there too on the web, you know, if you're just looking. Okay.
I'm trying to get on camera.
Oh, you're trying, so you can look good, huh? All right.
What assignment is this that
We're-
you're
We're going over the marketing plan.
oh,
So
okay.
if you already did it, then you probably, oh, and I want to tell you something too. Some of you did it. And when I first did my dissertation, when I submitted the first 3 chapters, my advisor said, I wouldn't rewrite this if I was you. I would just start over. And, oh, that's you, Anna. And I don't tell, those of you who turned in a marketing plan, I will say the good news is, unlike my advisor, I will not tell you need to just start over because they were a fine start. But for the marketing plan, it should be more detailed than that. So if you turned in a marketing plan and it didn't look something like this, you want to go and download this from the website. It's under files on the site, and we'll go through it bit by bit. And yes, ma'am.
You know what I did?
What did you do?
You talked about it and you showed us something from the SBA
Uh-huh.
marketing plan, a
Mhm.
little rubric thing, and I based mine off of that and turned it in before you showed us this
Uh,
one. So I'll redo it.
Yes. So like I said, when I looked at what you all had done, unlike what my advisor said of my dissertation, I would not say you need to start over. I would say actually it was a good start. All the ones I looked at were a good start. So for here, if you wonder why I'm just standing here, it's because there's a bunch of people online because of the roads, which I don't blame them. So our marketing goal here is to increase through lead generation and conversion and increase awareness, raise enrollment to 150. So that's our marketing goal, is growing the student body, and I have a more in-depth description of it. So we'll go through this bit by bit, and then when I get to the end, if you want to download this from the website and just edit it and put in your own things, you will be set. Oh, what's it? Let's hear it. Cool information from Livin.
National Congress of American Indians has partnered with Google. So they have a Grow Google training modular for businesses
Woo,
and entrepreneurs. So, and it's free, so.
yeah. Should check it out. We got into one of those Google things and they sent our games out to 2 million users, but they also were super, super helpful. Like they went through, you have to not have you have to have a tough ego for this. They went through everything we did. They went through our ads on the Google Play Store, our videos, and said, you should do this different. You should do that different. But all right. So we're talking about the marketing plan. Like I said, this is on the website. So we'll go over that in a minute, but I'm going over it bit by bit. So marketing goals number 1, and you're here, Randy. So you and your compadres would be charged with making this happen. And I think if you're doing a good job in your marketing plan, you don't just say, oh, and they're going to increase the number of students by 400%, right? You need to involve the people who have to do it in that. So that's why I asked Randy in here as an expert today. So I said our marketing goal number 1 would be increase awareness of California Indian Nations College among Native Americans in Southern California. Because how it usually works is you hear about something and then you kind of think about doing it and then you actually do it. So first people need to know that we exist. So that's awareness is the number 1 goal. The marketing goal number 2 is increase the number of students who show interest in sync by completing a form online or providing contact information at event by 300%. So that's what, and I know Anna was in real estate, what they call lead generation, right? So first you want people to know we exist, then you want to generate some leads, people who have given us their contact info. And the third thing is increase the number of students who enroll to 150 each semester by fall 2023. So that's the part where people actually give you money or show their body up in class, which I mean, no disrespect to you that are online, because I told these guys, I actually did not stay at our house in the mountains yesterday because I thought it was going to snow. But I mean, the fact that you all came in here or came in online, that's pretty impressive. So that's, the end goal, but people don't enroll when they don't know you exist. And you can't contact them to give them info unless they give you their contact info, unless you stalk them or something, which is not one of our strategies. So that first slide, you do have to have the key performance indicators. You do not have to have in your marketing plan. So that's not required, but I'm just showing you what they would look like. So for increasing awareness, we would say we want the total number of likes, comments, page views, new followers to increase 200%. And our newsletter, which we do not actually have, I took this from something else from my company. It says the newsletter open rate would be the industry average of 23%. Actually, for education, the industry average is 28%. And you know how I found that out? My friend Google, I just typed in industry average newsletter open rates. So for education, that's one of the highest ones. So you might ask, nobody did, so it's very sad, but I will pretend that you asked, why do you track new followers and interactions? Why don't you just track how many followers you have? And the answer is, how many times have you seen something on the web and just scrolled right by it, not paid any attention? A lot of times. Where if there's an interaction where they liked it or they commented on it, then that's showing that they at least paid some attention to you. If they're a new follower, they had to at least take some action. So we know they're aware of you, because I can send out, I mean, we all get tons of junk email, right? Tons of spam. And if you counted how much spam you sent out as your measure of awareness, you're way off. And you definitely do not need to do this next thing I'm showing you. But I just want to give you some idea of.
Hey, you're muted. Your mic is muted.
Did it just get muted? Did you not hear anything I said about the media metrics?
No.
No.
No, didn't hear nothing. Just your mouth. What is going on?
All right. Well, I will go through it very quickly this time. All right. Could you hear anything I said this whole time?
I did.
The people sitting here did. Randy's so helpful. All right.
Good job.
Did you hear when I asked if anybody was on Pinterest?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I will tell you real briefly then. First of all, what we found is that none of the men in the room are on Pinterest, because Pinterest is 80% women. So you want to have multiple social media accounts because they're different markets. Pinterest is mostly women. Facebook is mostly older. TikTok is mostly younger. And then the other thing is that you'll see in a minute why we didn't do this so much, but you could track your social media metrics. So the number of users you have, like here's the number of subscribers, for newsletters, the open rate. So we would track by week how many total followers we had, and then how much activity there was, like how many people commented or liked it. So for your own market plan, you don't need to have that level of metrics. But I'm just showing you that's how you could do it. Now, here's what we learned when we actually did social media metrics tracking. We found they changed very little from week to week. So then we started tracking it monthly. The other thing we found is that when we did campaigns like Hispanic Heritage Month, Native American Heritage Month, Small Business Saturday, and so on, it had very little impact. So you know that chapter about lean startups and doing experiments? So first we just had social media, we posted random stuff. Hey, we make games, yay us. And then we said, well, let's do some campaigns. It's Hispanic Heritage Month. We make games in Spanish and English, download these. We found it had very little impact. Then we tried things like tweets from influencers. We'd have Rhonda tweet something out during UFC Fight Week. And that would give us another 1,000 followers maybe, but for somebody who has 12 or 13 million followers, you'd think it would get more. But honestly, people say, oh, just get her to do something, it'll go viral. But honestly, I mean, how many times did you see somebody that you follow, I don't know whoever is the cool person on TV now, somebody from Game of Thrones said, buy this thing, and you went out and bought that thing. No, you just looked at that and went, So we went on podcasts that had very little impact on our social media metrics, but we did find is when we were raising money for stuff, those people whose podcasts we went on were more likely to invest. They weren't good for raising our social media metrics, but they were good for other things. So that's why you have multiple marketing goals, right? Like for Sync, one of our marketing goals might be to get people to donate to us, to give us grants, which is a very different market than the people we're trying to get to give us, to come and enroll here. Unless some of you are secretly wealthy and have Scrooge McDuck vaults full of money, in which case you can donate to. Yeah. Then the thing we did find had event was live events. When we went to conferences and presented or had a booth, then the number of interactions went up. So people would see us and they, they were interesting. Hopefully I didn't say they sucked, but they went, they were interesting. I think I will check them out some more. So that was the one thing that did have an impact. So the whole point of this is when you do marketing things and you spend all this money on it, check and see if it actually has any impact. And we were kind of sad to see that a lot of things did not have impact, sadly. The things that were really cheap, like us coming up with the marketing campaign and tweeting out stuff, did not have much impact. Us actually showing up at like the National Indian Education Association did. Also, we found that just going to an event didn't have much impact, which is true because most of us, unless, I don't know, we have our community manager, Christy, is wonderful. When we go to things and she'll be like, she'll meet everybody. Her and Randy, you should connect. But Christy is the type of person that would go out to everybody and, hey, I'm Christy and Heston and she's from the Bitterwater clan. I know I've heard her say it so many times. And then she would tell you everything about her whole life and you should come here. But that's a tiny fraction of people. Most people go to an event and it didn't really jack up our social media metrics. So from that, we said, we're not paying for you to go to an event unless you're either staffing a booth or giving a presentation. We could have, and you'll read marketing things online and it says you should do SEO optimization and you should pay somebody a ton of money for this. I'm not so sure about the paying a ton of money. Search engine optimization. So there are certain things that would make your tweets, Facebook pages, whatever, more likely to show up in its search algorithm.
That's what younger kids get warned about. Don't post yourself with this or posting all this because they're gonna pull up at your job interview like, so back in 2019, you said, fuck our company.
Oh, no, it's totally true that people look up your social media in job interviews. I mean, I've been on search committees and people, not me, but other people on the committee say, oh yeah, I checked out his social media and it doesn't look like a nut job. So people do check your social media, see, yeah, if you said, well, again, one of the things we do check is for racism, right? Because our company does games that are based on Latino and Native American storylines. And if you're posting something about, all these people should go back to Mexico or so on, yeah, you're not coming to work with us, So yeah, you do want to be careful of that. But I mean, and there are those SEO tools that you can optimize your titles. We actually do use that one. If you say something like, 5 ways to make more money or 7, how many of those links in the textbook were, 7 ways that entrepreneurs can make money, 10 types of people who shouldn't be entrepreneurs, listicles. So we could look at all that way to increase our metrics, but guess what? We all had other jobs. So we did a little bit of it. If you're really into that, you could try it. Let me know how it works out. Okay, so here's why we roped Randy into coming today. So for Sync, we have key performance indicators because we said we had those goals. Now you don't have to have this in yours. You do have to have the marketing goals, but if you have goals, how are you going to measure if you're getting there or not? And a smart thing is to have something you can track all the way along. So you don't get to the end of the year and go, oh, we're screwed, right? So as far as increasing contacts from the web, I said, so this is my lead generation KPI. The total number of leads generated through the Sync website will increase 400% over 2022. And the reason I thought we could do that is because our website sucks, let's be honest. It doesn't even have a search bar. And so I figured if we made something that did not suck, we could get 4 times as many people to fill out the form. Eat your own dog food. Our CEO hates it when I use that term. When people talk about eating your own dog food, it means trying your own product. So I am a student, or I missed the registration because I didn't really want to do it. I registered for Santa Monica College. And the reason I registered for Santa Monica College is I tried to register for Sync online. And I have the patience of a toddler. And after the 47th screen, I'm like, for the love of God, how many are there? And I didn't do it. So I think if we improve the website, we could up our number of people leads we get from it. Just, give us your name. Would you like to go to sync? By 4 times. Do you have a comment on this, Randy?
For keeping it simple. That's more.
Can you all hear him?
Yeah.
I didn't need you. People online, can you hear him? Are they still there? Did my Zoom drop?
Yeah, tell him to talk so I can hear or see if I could hear him.
Yeah. Oh, she said talk so she could see if you can hear. She didn't even hear you. Get up. Come on, come on. Exercise.
I can
Okay.
unmute him and then, but you mute yours.
Okay, then I'll have to remember not to mute it again,
Oh, we'll remember now.
right?
Just like what you were talking about, Professor, keep it simple, make it like where you're talking to a kindergartner, so that way they could walk through the process easy. I'm sorry. So this way, everyone could understand it. You press the buttons, any questions, we're right there to answer them for you. But this way we'll get your information and we'll get in contact with you later on at the end of the day or the following day within 24 hours. But it shouldn't be difficult to go over here and sign up for our school. What I go over here and I talk with the new students that I'm trying to recruit, I tell them if you could go over here and sign up for your Hulu for your lost password, then you have time to go over here and fill out this little application. And when I phrase it to them like that, they're like, all right, yeah, we could do it.
All right, and then another key performance indicator I had was that we would increase the total number of leads from events by 200%. Because I figured we only had Randy here half this year. So next year, if we had him a whole year, plus if we gave him other things, then he could increase the number of leads generated. And then similarly from events, like we paid for him to go to more events, and Faith too, right? And then the total number of leads generated from classrooms. If you went to twice as many classrooms, you get twice as many leads. Did you have any comments on that, Randy?
For what I went out there and my first recruiting was out there in Owens Valley, and all I took out there was just flyers and a few pins and stickers, and we had a great turnout for over there. We had over 60 signatures, took 20 back in contact, and they weren't able to do the fall, but now we're going back in. We're going to recruit them for spring. But it's just having open communication, being available for when they email or when they call, and so it's just making it more personal, because when they try it for the other colleges, the larger colleges, they're not getting the attention which they get over here at Sync, because we're here. Good, I'll pick it up. Faith will pick up. Roger will pick up, and that's what makes us unique is where we're small. We'll get in contact. If one of the team cannot get a hold of you, then we'll have another team member get a hold of you.
Yeah, it is like a private college, except it doesn't cost you $65,000 a year, which is a good thing. All right, so when we're talking about marketing, you have multiple target audiences. And again, for your marketing plan, you don't need to do every one, just do one as an example. So in our case, I would say one target market that every tribal college has is students that have some college experience. So there's a lot of people that went to college either right out of high school or at some point in their life, and then life intervened. They had kids, they got a job, they got busy, they just had a teacher they hated, and they said, this is not for me, and quit. And a lot of those people are coming back in their, say, late 20s to late 40s, anywhere in between there. And so when you look at the target audience, one of the questions is, who's the buying authority? Now, you might wonder about, for me, right, when my daughter went to college, the buying authority was me, right? because Julia did not have $100,000 because she had no job. And that's about what it cost for her to go to school for 4 years. But when you're an adult, the buying authority is you all. Like, you know, Tat and Sierra, I'm interested to know, did your parents tell you you had to go here, or did you just say, I'm going here?
Responded.
What did she say?
I picked.
She picked. And so as far as, if you're talking about the Sync store, you mean all ages? Yeah. Because,
I didn't know what else to do after that.
well,
What is, I don't.
well, that, I just put that on here. So that's not applicable to us. So if you're selling to a business, so for example, if you're a software company and you're selling statistical software to USC, the person who is deciding would be the senior statistical consultant. So that would be their title. But if you're selling it, or the person making decisions himself, there is no title and there is no industry. So that's for business to business sales. But yeah, so that's why I put here, for us, industry is not applicable. We're not selling to business, and title isn't applicable because it's either the person themselves, I guess title could be parent, but it's either the person themselves who's deciding or their parent. Now, in some cases, maybe you might be targeting counselors or teachers. Who is it that has a big impact on them making that decision? So the buying triggers, what makes people at that age decide to go back to college? Actually, it's a good question. A lot of you at that age, what made you decide to go back to college? Come on, Anna, you know I'm looking at you.
2020,
2020.
we're sitting at home.
Oh, I thought you meant the show 2020.
At home. I was recovering, so I was just sitting at home.
You
and-
could,
And I was, oh, I should unmute myself.
right.
It was 2020 and I was sitting at home. I was sitting at home. So I thought, why not finish my education or start?
What made me decide? Just a few different events that unfolded kind of just one after the other, transitioning from work and to almost say I had to retire early. So I knew I didn't want to just sit at home, you know, and here I am. So I'm trying to do what is it? Proprietorship? Yeah, I don't know. So, including myself.
Here, I unmuted you.
Myself, I was at a second job. And so where an older gentleman went through, and I was one out of three. And he was going to go get some coffee. He went over there and he pointed to us. He's like, "You want to go to school? You want to go to school? You want to go to school?" And yeah, I said yes. And the other ones just follow along. And he said, and then he put down into coffee cup and said, "Follow me." So went back to his little cubicle and said, "Write your name on this paper here." Went over there and filled out all my information. We all did, but I was the one out of three that followed up with everything. And for the orientation with California Indian Nations College, we had it at the UCR campus, and that was a great outcome, because when I went in there was a bunch of natives, and it was starting from young to old, and that were we were all well seasoned and experienced life, and we all were nervous. I know I was a little excited about it, and when taking that step, and at the time Dr. Daisy Ocampo, she was the recruiter, and she was out there recruiting all of us, and that's how I signed up, learned more, and then I was still working and going to school at night. I overcame some obstacles, cars breaking down in between jobs, things like that. But if you have the drive and the perseverance, you could go over there and do it. You know, I overcame a lot in where I was the first graduate from our inaugural class. I was the first student trustee, you know, it feels good. And now I'm employed with California Indian Nations College, and it's great because I'm still here on campus with my old classmates, and I'm meeting new students, new staff, and just watching it grow. Because when we got here, we're none of us know that we're part of history and which is going on, because coming 2025, we're going to go over there and be fully accredited, and all of us are going to be a part of it. So we're making history, and none of us realize it on what we're doing. And everyone that signed up, they're going to be the first graduates of 2025, and that's going to be a big accomplishment for everyone, for California Indian Nations, California Indian Nations students, and how far along we came, and we're just paving the way for other colleges, other students.
Right. We just did our commercial.
See, I got my own camera. I'm gonna take a picture of myself. But you know, we're all part of history. We're all here. We're all doing great big things, because my classmates, they're still part of the community. They're still part of SYNC, and we're always going to be here, our alumni, and it's a great feeling watching everyone complete their dreams and their goals and continuing on in their education.
Unmuted. I learned about a lot of stuff about you, Randy, that I didn't know. So. See, but I do think there's a point of breaking these down by target markets, because I think there's some people who maybe are all jazzed about the idea of being part of history, and other people, they don't care. They just want to get their degree and go on with life. But I do think for that kind of mid-range, 28 to 49, that's the larger proportion of people going to two-year colleges. And the very common reason that they're doing it is they either want a career change or they want more promotion potential in the career they got. They just want to make some change in their life. You know, they're working at some job that they think is boring or not going anywhere.
How I found out was just through a flyer. And then that word of mouth.
So flyers would be one of our promotional materials. Yes, ma'am.
I came because I like the logo.
Leanne said she came because she liked the logo. You got a good graph?
No, it just had this, and then it had California Indian Nations orientation.
That's right.
And where
I got word from Indian Health from BHS. They had a flyer, so that's how I found out about Inc. was through Morongo Indian Health.
So partnerships, that's one I didn't have, but actually, so when we get later on, I didn't have anything for partnerships, but maybe Indian Health Service and TANF would be two good partnerships.
Yes, TANF, because they push people, you have to do something to be a part of TANF. You have to have hours.
They make you self-sufficient.
I keep trying to get them to invite me out there and they won't. Anybody knows anybody in TANF?
Right.
My brother works for TANF. I'll tell him.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be in my car. I'd be happy to come out. Sebulba's in a nice, it's pretty out there too. I'd be happy to come.
Get the educational services for adults in Torres Martinez Tribal TANF at the Marietta site.
Yeah, anybody who, you guys all got my email, so yeah, anybody that has, what is my friend Annette says, the connects, anybody who's got the connects with TANF. Yes, ma'am. Do you?
Give me your card and I'll take it all over.
Ooh, there's one right there. Randy and I were just talking about cars. I just got mine on Saturday. That's right.
Our QR codes, we're working on it.
She's got one.
Yes. I just got this cool QR code thing. You got one of those too, right, Randy? So if you meet somebody who wants to go to SYNC, you just give them, they say, here, you want to go to SYNC? You should get one too, right? And then if I meet anybody who might want to teach here, you want to teach at SYNC? So
They should put them on our folders.
that's a great idea. See, I hope you're taking notes here, Randy. So you want to look at your different target markets. Like for us, I would say the Palm Springs metro area, and I would say I define that pretty broadly, but you're not going to have people moving here from New York to go to the school by and large. Well, they would move here if they had family and that, but for right now, we're focusing on for this particular target market. And the reason I broke it down like this is if I'm marketing to these folks, the 28 to 49-year-olds, a big thing for them is I have kids. Is this going to work around my kids? I have a job. Is this going to, if you're 45 years old, you're probably not living off the bank of mom and dad. You got to make a living somehow. Yeah. So those folks are looking at, is this going to fit around my current lifestyle? Is this going to help me change my career path? And I think that some of them too may be skeptical of higher education. You know, I was talking to somebody this Saturday who said she was taking a class, she was making an A in it, her grandma died, so she left to go to the funeral, missed the final, and the teacher flunked her. So if you have that experience, you might be reluctant to consider coming back to college, and Randy and Faith have to convince you that it's a different deal. So based on what their interests are, where you're going to find them, your marketing is going to change. And there's a lot of other target audiences, and you would have different marketing materials, a different marketing plan for each one. So this you also don't have to have in your marketing plan. I just threw it in there. So high school students interested in concurrent enrollment would be another target audience. They're not necessarily worried about balancing it with their children because they probably don't have children. They might, but probably not. You might have high school students who aren't interested in concurrent enrollment, but interested in coming after graduation. And so there's a bunch of different segments you could break it down to, and each of those you might have a little different marketing. You know, obviously for high school students, you're going to go out to the high schools. For people over 28, you're not. This, it sounds funny, but I mentioned before, I knew somebody who was a textbook publisher, and he would actually send like a cutout life size of a student to people writing textbooks and say, look at this person. Think about this is who you're writing to. And I would do that sometimes. You know, this teacher that you're making this trying to get use this software is busy. They taught today for 6 hours, and then they had a parent teacher meeting, and then they had lesson plans, and they had to go pick up their own kids from soccer practice, and they got 5 minutes to look at your thing. So who is your person? So I give them a name. You give me a name, Maribel. I don't know what her job title is, but she's probably making between $5,000 and $40,000 a year. She's probably pretty hardworking. She's probably not super aggressive. This is just based on the average community college student I've met. She thinks that her family and career are important. Obviously everybody thinks their family is important. The most common community college student in America is a woman in her 30s with children. Are you laughing? What did you do?
She's in my wallet.
Oh, this Brenda has that exact same wallet. Okay. So when you're doing your marketing plan, think about what makes somebody give you money. If somebody's deciding to go to college, it's not an impulse buy. We're like the Sync store. We are looking at impulse buy for a lot of things. You come in, you're buying, you know, a candy bar, you're buying some soda, you're buying, you know, you didn't think about it that long. It's there, I walked in. College is not an impulse buy. So look at who is this person? And just make them up. Think of somebody you know that fits that prototype. You've got somebody in mind that looks like that person you want to buy your stuff or is going to be interested in buying your stuff. It could be an actual person. Oh, just like my cousin Bob. Like Albert, who's going to buy your stuff?
Some little kid from Palm Desert that Takes his mom's credit card.
Right, I was gonna say with his parents' money. That's a good market. We're gonna do this in a minute. I'm gonna leap back to it, a situational analysis. So the situational analysis, you just write down in your own words what the situation is. And so I put California Indian Nation College is only 5 years old, thus unknown to many potential students and the teachers or counselors who might refer them. Without residential facilities, the college is focused on recruitment of students who live within commuting distance. Because yeah, Michelle, somebody might move here, but by and large, it's going to be people who it's somewhat convenient for them. They live within driving distance. As a tribal college, it would be most of interest to Native American students because knowledge of Native American history and culture is valued and infused throughout the curriculum. So strengths of the college include its connections with area tribes, a committed faculty and staff, student-focused personal advising, a prestigious board of directors. Because when I came here, I looked on the college website and I saw the board of directors, and these are like some accomplished people, right? And sometimes if I look at a college that's supposed to be serving like minority students and it's all white men, I'm like, you know, and the fact that they had like the chair of the tribal council, people like that, I thought, you know, and native artists that I had heard of. It wasn't somebody's cousin, you know, so that's impressive. And then we have flexibility in scheduling to meet student needs. So I would say those are some strengths. Challenges of the college include limited local awareness, limited budget for marketing, and a lack of fully developed marketing procedures because we're new. So we're basically building the plane while we're flying it. I know Leanna and I were going through today, you know, what's the form for this? How do we get money for this? How do we get lunch for this event? Who do we ask for this? So we're going to do something in a little bit that's called free writing. And have any of you ever done that? Does it ring a bell? Free writing.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think it's kind of a cool thing if you think, oh, I have no idea. Once you start writing, you'd be amazed how much an idea you have. So in a little bit, when we do the situation analysis, you're going to pull up that slide and just start typing your ideas about marketing. And the thing with free writing, the thing with free writing is you have to start writing and you cannot stop. You have to just keep writing. So you have 5 minutes and you just have to write. That's why it's called free writing.
All my life.
All right, we're gonna go through the marketing mix and then we're gonna get started on this. So product, California Indian Nations College offers an associate arts degree in liberal arts. With these emphases, I copied that off the website. The college also offers adult basic education, leading to a high school diploma and non-credit workshops. So the product is what do people get? Not what do you do, but what do people get? So yeah, we teach, but what people get is an associate arts degree. Price, the cost for attendance for degree seeking students is paid by a combination of scholarships and grant support and books and expenses are paid for. You know, there's been debate internally about whether we ought to more highlight the fact that it's free. And what some people say is if we did that, and you will get a lot of people who are not Native coming here just get a free education, and how would it be a tribal college? So how do you market that fact it's free to the tribal communities without getting, you know, believe me, there are so many scammers out there. I could tell you from running a company. But anyway, it's free. If non-credit workshops are free to sync students, but other people have to pay. If they need to take a course outside of sync, it's $46 a credit, but it's mostly free. Place, classes are held on campus in Palm Springs and also can attend online. So in theory, Michelle is right. In theory, we could have students who are Iroquois, did I pronounce it right? That could attend from New York and take classes online. That is feasible. Promotion. So awareness is promoted through social media and attendance at college fair events as well as community events. Marketing materials include brochures, flyers, an annual report, and promotional items. Say, what do you guys call promotional items? That stuff that you get at like conferences and stuff? See, that's what I said too. Like for stuff we all get, right? And my kids said, no, swag stands for secretly we are gay. And when I said swag, they just fell over laughing. No, for real. So apparently you all are not young and cool either. So anyway, promotional items, stuff that we give out, stickers, T-shirts, we have that. We have a website that is marginally functional. Pardon? I don't know. There are all these things they tell me I can't say anymore. Positioning. So we could add in a lot of those things that Randy said about being part of history. That's really good. I said California Indian Nations College is the only tribal college in California that students can attend to obtain an associate's degree. Because there are other tribal colleges in process, but we're the only one that you can go to and get a degree right now. And yeah, you could add some stuff in there about uniqueness and part of history. And Randy should be in this class and be assigned this, don't you think? Yes, I will send you. So people, who are the people we have doing this? And again, you guys, since you're doing your marketing plan, you kind of have to make it up. Now, if you're doing a sole proprietorship like Andre, the people is you. I mean, when I started the Julie Group, I was the people, right? And then eventually you grow and you have other people. And I had minions to do things for me. So people we have, recruitment staff at the face of the college to most of the community, particularly to high school students, because high schools don't let you just pop in, right? Because you could be some psycho pedophile weirdo. So the recruiters are most of the face. We have communication specialists that manages social media. And we have several people who update parts of the website, but there isn't a real webmaster, right? I mean, in theory, there's somebody who has that title, but what? There's several. I mean, because Ryan put stuff up on the calendar and I put stuff up and Sean put stuff up and Courtney put stuff up, but it's nobody's real job, which is why it's kind of a mess. And then we have a director of development and his job is to go out and meet with people, foundations, and get us money. So there's our people. And then our pricing strategy, we are very much economy pricing, right? Because we're free. So we're not luxury pricing. We're not pricing at the market rate. We're free. Now, for a lot of you, like with the Sync store, we're looking, I think, competitive pricing at market rate. I don't know if any of you are doing super luxury things. I think, Leanne, you were talking about a grocery store that kind of is, I don't know if you were to do competitive at market rates, you're thinking this is going to be organic and you have to pay more money for organic stuff.
I don't know. I was gonna try to do it organic and then offer it at a lower price than most people do for organic.
But you can do, the EBT. And I think you can buy organic and EBT. Actually, yes, I know you can. Or am I pretending? Yes, you can buy.
But the thing was, I wanted to grow the produce that we sell in that grocery store or get it from the area locally, but it just depends on.
There's gotta be a way that you could do that and sell it with EBT. So
That's
then
where I
you can
get stuck, because I'm like, do I want to grow all the groceries? Do I want to take some from the town? Because we grow like 90% of the vegetables in the United States come from.
Yeah.
So it's just
Wow.
like, we could definitely tap into that market. It's just people all around us and we're not making that money. So I'm like, why aren't we making that money?
So Leanne's trying to figure out her pricing strategy. It might be a combination of competitive pricing because you're going to put it at the same price as other, groceries, and sort of a unique pricing, right? Because you have organic, locally grown stuff that nobody else
Are
has.
you allowed to do like the gas stations where like if you do EBT, that's how much it is, but if you do cash, that's how much it is? You know how like at credit card price and then cash price at like gas stations?
I don't know.
Ideas.
And then what about your lots, or you have to sell the organic at a certain time, or you can just.
Well, they have massive, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to get refrigeration trucks, because that's the way that they do it out there, because it's so hot. They
Mhm.
store their produce in massive refrigeration trucks.
Interesting.
So I'm gonna have to look into figuring out a way to do that. Also thinking of like some type of cultural way to maybe like digging a pit underground to where to keep our vegetables and fruit, not hot. But sustainable, you know what I mean? Stopping them from molding, trying to figure out some old.
That's what you should contact, and I will put you in touch with them, talking about, interviewing another entrepreneur. And this is gonna sound crazy. The 4-H, when somebody told me I should contact 4-H in North Dakota, I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure it's so exciting." Standing Rock 4-H has this coolest program where the high school kids grow fruits and vegetables and they store them in these root cellars that were built in the 1930s as part of like the putting people to work during depression. And during the year, they have farmers markets, but they're free. So in other words, they grow all these fruits and vegetables and they have like this farmers market and all the tribal elders can come in, pick all their fruits and vegetables for free. And they store them in root cellars. But I will put you in touch with the woman who's ahead of that. And she will give you all kinds of information on how they do it.
Like I could get the kids to grow a tribal garden and give our fruits and vegetables out to the.
That's
tribal
exactly what they do.
And then we'll get some produce from town and try to make like, I want to try to make something like a Sprouts, something that will compete with Sprouts.
And partnership, look at 4-H as possible partnership. But yeah, I will put you in touch with her. Yeah, because when somebody said, oh, you should talk to 4-H, I'm thinking the people who do like the,
That's the closest to us.
And then
Where,
Clark's is locally owned. I don't know, they're probably white, but.
Jensen's always done it.
okay, so the last part of this is the last thing we need you for, Randy. So you're welcome to stay, is the budget. All right, so now you've already given me some ideas of stuff that we're not in the budget. So I will, I guess, you can talk, Randy. I've got 60,000 for events. I think we need to go to more events, just based on my experience with my company where it made a big difference. Paid promotions, but what else do you think we should have? Comments on the budget? I mean, the rest of you, you're students, what would have made you, you know, or you know people, how should we spend money to bring more people in?
I think
Are we grant based? Can we be grant based?
Yes. Because we're not yet accredited, there's some grants we don't, we are eligible for, but because we're nonprofit, this lobby.
Most of the schools that I know that are all not California, but Native American within the country, a lot of them have to do with like the daycares and the housing and all that other stuff. I would say that if you are grant based, maybe alongside the lines of temporary housing for people that would. And I should have took you guys up to NCAI because it was in Sacramento too. I could have took the whole California college up there.
Yeah, you know, Celeste mentioned going up there, we just got back from Washington, and I said, to be honest, I said, I don't because it's class, I don't think you should discuss it. And you have for it. But actually partnerships, you know what I just thought of? We should have a daycare. Wouldn't that help? If we
Yes.
had
Yes.
to watch your kids, why don't we have that?
Ready?
The COD, I think that's the childcare, right? We can piggyback on that.
for COD, that's
Huge, huge.
I only have one kid and it's hard.
I mean, not,
Right, yeah, I think that might be a recruitment marketing tool.
that
If we actually had a daycare.
they work with that over there at COD for their child development. We don't have the child development over here, but I think
we could.
we could go over there and see what the need is for if the parents are coming down. Because, you know, they could just drop off the kid and say, I'm on Zoom and they're down.
That will totally
downtown.
up our student numbers.
So
That's opens a whole new.
my whole business plan is on a daycare. I can give you statistics from my tribe and why they don't go to work. So 55% of our tribe doesn't work. 32% of them are because they're single parents and they don't get a job because they can't find daycare. Same thing with college.
Well, especially if you're class in the evening.
Mhm.
Simply provide care.
Oh, yeah, I would have
That
gone
would
to
open-
college a long time ago if I'd have been able to find somebody to watch my kids then.
That would open so many doors.
I was only able to go to grad school because I was married and my husband made a good living. Because my entire paycheck pretty much covered daycare for the kids. Well, suckers are expensive, man. Especially that 3 of them under 5. The plain.
Fantastic.
Put that on there.
Okay, so we will add under partnership daycare.
Then that would have to come about making classes for childcare. So that way they're able to do both.
And speaking of which, sorry, you put that on mute and I can type, you're gonna say anything about work experience.
They might be able to get some like work experience hours in that daycare center.
Oh, I should just do my whole marketing budget
Yes.
whatever to you guys right now. So that's.
Yes, yes.
And then we'll go.
See,
get
your
our
project is
grant-
almost done
our
now.
grant Writing next week, we can get a grant for.
What, no, actually, I wanted to bring this up because I just had a meeting this week. And so any of you are interested, with COD on getting credit for work experience. So say you're working for your tribe. I'm looking at you there. Say you're working for your tribe or you're working here as an intern, then you would meet with the person supervising you, or you meet with one of the faculty members and say, here's the things that I'm going to, am I on mute here still? Hello, can you hear me? I'm just checking.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so if you're interested in getting credit for work experience, we will probably have that set up by next semester. So for example, if you're working on campus as an intern, if you're working for your tribe, it sets up, it says, here's 3 objectives that you're going to learn over the semester. And then there's also like 10 soft skills, things like showing up at work and stuff like that. But if you show you meet those objectives, and obviously the bigger objective it is, the more credit you can get. So if you say, I'm going to write a grant for daycare, you would get more credits than if you said, I'm going to, go to work every day and do the budget or something. So anyway, just so you know, that is something that I think we just met on it yesterday, and I think that's going to be available by the spring. So any of you who are working and interested in getting credit for it, you should let me know about that. So now that we have said all of these things, we are going to spend the next, first thing, you should go to Populi under files. If you go here, you should see marketing plan template sync example. Why it's here twice, I don't know. Both of them the exact same thing. So you should be able to download that. So right click on it, save link as. So you should be able to download it and then open that up and go through and start on your own marketing plan. But the thing I would say to start on very first would be this situational analysis slide. And just open it up, delete what's here. Is it? And just start typing. So what you want to do is download that, open it up. Do some of you have computers you can't download anything on? Okay. Do you want to type that in the chat so everybody knows to try that? And the other thing I will do is while everybody else is downloading this PowerPoint and getting ready to start on the situation analysis, I will also go in and share it from my drive as a link. And that way, maybe people can just open it up in Office 365 without having to download it. Just open it up and save it to their drive. But Leanne's going to put in the chat exactly what she just said about how she got it to work. So that's what we're going to do for the next 10 minutes. You are going to open that up, do some free writing, just write. Here's how it works. You open it up and you start writing, and you're not allowed to stop writing. And the idea is that it will come to you. Okay, so for those who can't download, if you have trouble downloading, I shared this link and you should be able to go into OneDrive. Oops. And just paste in that link and it should let you open it. Hi, come up. All right, so we're going to talk about lean startups. And I wanted to talk about marketing in depth because marketing plans and marketing is something everybody needs to do. lean startups, you should know about it because you're taking a class in intro to entrepreneurship. Most of you are getting a really good grade in it. So therefore, when you graduate and it shows up on your transcript and people say things about MVP and pivots, you should know what they mean because they're kind of the buzzwords. So the lean startup, to give it to you in like the 30-second version, you start with the minimal viable product. So you build something. You don't, and this is the part I agree on. It used to be thought that if you were going to have a company, you wrote a 75-page business plan. I kid you not. And you did all this research, and I have never done that, right? And so now you do this in-depth business plan, do all this research, and you get started. And now the new idea is instead you start with something that's kind of sort of what you think people would like. And hopefully I'm not muted, and hopefully you people on the Zoom can hear me. You check Anna. Anyway, you start with something that's a very sketchy version of what you think you're going to have in the end. You have people try it with the minimum number of features, and then you see their response to it. And like I said, when we did our first games, oh my God, they were so buggy. We went into some schools on the reservations and we installed them on our first idea, we installed them on all the computers, right? And then we found out that a lot of schools have something where it wipes all of the downloads of everything that was installed overnight. Because the idea is if students download bunches of stuff, right? Maybe they're using it for their assignment, but if you don't delete it all the next day, you end up with 20,000 things on your machine. So we spent all day installing it. We came back and it was all wiped the next day. So you find out these things as you go along, and you make those changes based on the feedback you get. So you create a product that's just got a few features, you test those out. If people like them, you keep them, make something more like it. If they hate them, you go and you fix it. So MVP is not most valuable player. Well, it is, but in this case, it stands for minimum viable product. So it's an early version that's definitely not polished or complete. And one of the reasons, some of the bigger companies have a good term for this, premature optimization. In other words, don't make something feature perfect if people are going to hate it and you're just going to delete it, or if no one cares about it. So let's say we had a forum where kids could talk about the games and that, and we found out that nobody was really interested in that, then it'd be a big waste of our time to spend a lot of time adding new features to the forum, so you could put images and animation because no one cares. So the whole point of an MVP is it's just enough that people can start testing it. Like when we did our first games, a lot of the graphics weren't perfect, but it was enough that we could see like the kids really liked that game where they were shooting the most with arrows. They liked the part where they were walking around in the virtual world. But then we had it very clearly marked where you should go, and the kids went off and fell off the edge of the world because we didn't think to put in invisible barriers. So it's like if you were doing a minimal viable product for like a food truck, you might go to a powwow or go to a game, and you know how you see these people on the street and they've got a grill and that, and cook some stuff and see if people like your stuff. See if anybody will give you money. So I like this because this is the thing you see at the top is this is a very common example of comparing an MVP to the old way of doing things. So here it says you started out with a wheel, and then you had two wheels, and then you had a chassis, and then you had a car. And all the way along, people said, oh, this sucks. You know, what good is a wheel, and what good is two wheels, and what good is a chassis? And then finally we have a car. And that's not what you do. So supposedly you would start out the skateboard and it's working, right? But it's easy to fall off of. And then you would go to a scooter, and then a bicycle, and then a motorcycle, and then a car. So at each step you have something. You can actually use a skateboard for transportation. You can actually use a scooter. So that's the idea. You start with the least thing possible that would still function. Now somebody else said he thought that was completely not the right way. He said, yeah, if you're building a car, you're probably not starting with a scooter or a skateboard. You know, it's more likely you start with something that's like a car, maybe not perfect. And then people say, well, I'd like it more enclosed, and you gradually get close to it. But the idea is you start out with something that's a product that people can actually use and give you feedback on. And here's the funny thing, it doesn't even have to be an actual product. And I wondered about the ethics about this, and so did other people. We all talked about Kickstarter, right? Kickstarter is the platform online where you can back a product and say, hey, I would buy this thing if you made it. And I went to a conference where the person who at that time had raised the most money for a game presented, and he admitted something. They didn't have a game when they did their Kickstarter. He said they made a video of, this is the coolest game. Wouldn't you like this game? And he said it didn't actually exist. It was just a video. They just made a video. But he said the way they justified it to themselves was they actually knew how to do every part of it. Like they knew if they got the money, they could do it. But what they did is they went and showed people a video of this game and said, would you buy this game? So that was their MVP. Yeah. Yeah, well, some people said, well, you didn't actually have the game and you said, here's this game, would you buy it? And they said, well, but if they gave us some money, we could build it. And they did. So, and I know a company in Chile, they went around with a PowerPoint. They started out, they were going to make a game for kids and they didn't have a lot of money. So you start out with a PowerPoint, said, here's this character in the game. And this character is like this, and this is what they do, and ask kids if they'd like that character. So that's another super cheap way to do it. People into the lean startup methodology love to talk about experiments. Why should you care? Well, because some of these people who love lean startups are investors who would give you money. So it's kind of like if you think that this is a great thing and you're willing to invest, you know, a couple $100,000 in my company, I will think it's a great thing too. It's actually not a bad idea. So when you create your new product, right, you can do different features that you can test. And the features don't have to be a new type of shoe that you're selling in your store. They don't have to be a new service that you're offering your customers. It can be making it easier. You know, Randy and I were talking at length. See, because he was being recorded, he didn't rant as much later on as he did earlier today. But we were talking at length about like the process of people signing up to be a student at Sync. And you have to go and you have to fill out 47 pages of California Community College application and then the Sync application. So one feature you might test is getting people to access you. If right now they have to email you, maybe if you added to your website a simple little things like text me, maybe that would get you more customers. If you, for those of you who know, that clock is still an hour off, just so you know. If you look over there and think, oh, she's really going late today. I said I would do that at least 3 times today. See, if you're not here at the classroom, you can't see the clock is an hour late. So you could change your marketing wording or graphics. A very common thing people do with Google is they will have one ad that has a heading of, say, buy Albert shoes. They will make you cooler than your grandma. And then another ad that has the heading, if you love your grandkids, you will buy Albert shoes. And they'll see which one has the more people that click through it. So that would be an experiment. If you change your sales procedure from having qualified leads, say instead of you call up anybody that you can find in a directory, we've done this before and it's a big waste of money. Say you buy one of those mailing lists. You get every high school student who's graduating who is Native American and send them an email. It might not get you very many students. And if you limit it to only those students who have given you a permission to contact them, then that would be an experiment. And in that case, you might have fewer of those potential customers drop out in the whole process because they're customers that you've already pre-qualified. So experiments can be anything from a new feature to a new way of marketing. And you try it, you see if it works. One of the things, and I think I've shown you this before, if you had asked me which of our games students would like to play more, I would have said the ones that we spent a lot more time and money developing, that had a whole virtual world that you could walk through. And in fact, it was about equal those and the ones where they could do math problems and earn stuff, and then they could get a papoose with a baby inside of it. They could get a dog, they could get arrows and click on them. So if you'd asked me what students like to play, I would have been wrong. I would have said, this thing that cost us 5 times as much, make that because it's so cool. But when you put it in front of kids, they were equally likely to play one or the other. So you build something, you test it out. So here's what happens. You do this and you find that people hate your thing, whatever your thing is. So now what? You've been working on this, and what happens? Well, and I'll tell you, it's funny, I think I mentioned this before. I wanted to make software to help students who were in tribal colleges. This was my original idea. And I saw students who came in and they weren't quite ready at the math level. They had to take a bunch of remedial classes. And I thought I should make some online courses or something for them. And I went to the tribal council and they said, yeah, we don't want that. So well, they said they wanted something that intervened earlier. So if you need to pivot, here's a whole bunch of different ways you could pivot. One is you have a single feature that becomes a whole product. If you've ever used Slack, it was like that. So Slack was part of a different suite of products, and they decided, hey, this thing that we use just for communicating on our teams, people would pay money for this. Or Twitter was supposed to be part of a thing that lets you share music and all that, and then iTunes came out. So it became just for little short blogs. Or you come up with and the Zoom out is what we had. So we had these educational games, right? We thought this would be great, people would like this. And teachers said, we need something to tell us exactly how to fit this in the curriculum. We don't have time to sit down, look at the curriculum and say, in the 4th week, play this game and it teaches fractions and here's some PowerPoints to go through. We want you to make all that for us. Oh, and by the way, we want the data collected where it would automatically tell us what problems they got right and wrong and what standards they missed. You know, Leanne's kind of going with, is she going to zoom out and add all of these other things, creating a garden and cooking classes? So what you would do in terms of an MVP is you would start with, say, one part of that. You would start with, say, your grocery store. And then you would add on the garden. You would add on these other things. Or you could start with the garden. But the thing is, you would start with one thing and then expand from that. So maybe you have your garden, you have all these people making vegetables. Now you have your way of storing it. I'll connect you with Sue, who will tell you all about the root cellar thing they use. And you've got your farmer's market going. And then people say, oh, you could connect up with the Lavinia and she'll help you do grants. So now you've got that going. People say, well, I'd like to buy those vegetables. So they need the next thing. So part of your pivot could just be adding more and more and more features. You may focus on a different customer segment. So maybe Albert thinks that young kids are going to buy his stuff, but it turns out it's older people that want to feel cool. You know, like, honest to God, you go to Harley Davidson and they are like the world's biggest marketing success. As somebody said, they let some 50-year-old accountant put on a leather jacket and drive through a small town people are afraid of. I don't know how much real bikers are going to the Harley Davidson store, maybe a tiny percent, but a lot of it's people who want to be tough. Do you know how many people I have seen wearing UFC gear who have never been in a fight in their life? So maybe your customer segment is different than you thought it was. So that could be a pivot. This is the big reason that products fail. nobody needs your thing. So let's see, what are some examples? Like, you guys must have seen stuff that is for sale and you think, who on earth would buy that? I mean, my thought is anything with the Kardashians, but apparently I'm wrong about that.
Anything Kanye West, please.
Yeah,
You know, one product I thought nobody would have bought
what?
were those toe socks.
I own a pair of those. I own a pair of toe socks.
They just look like they'd be uncomfortable.
What about the toe shoes? The toe- yeah, the toe
Yeah,
shoes.
toe shoes are. Well, one thing I thought was really stupid when I saw those chip clips, those clips that you put a bag of chips to keep it closed. I must have 5 of those in my house now. I use them all the time.
I look at it like, because somebody will look at these shoes or some of the prices of these things or some of the clothes and be like, why would I pay that much for a shirt? Or why would I pay that much for these shoes? Like, why? It's because it has value behind it, or sometimes the shoe could even appreciate over time. Somebody, there's a shoe that I have right now, currently, it's from 2014, sitting in my closet. Got it for, I think, $200. And now when you go look on the market, it's selling for $3,000. So it just goes to show over time, you let a shoe sit or you let something go over time, somebody's gonna be like, oh, that's a badass shoe, or that one's like vintage. It's from a long time ago.
See, and your price positioning, Albert, I think is going to be that luxury / uniqueness, right? You're going to say, and sometimes people go into a store not just for the product, but for the experience.
So, and that's why I also put collectibles in the pitch, because for somebody to come to the store and be like, oh, like, that looks like something that I'll keep
Right.
for my grandkids or pass it down. And when they do, sure enough, they have value behind it. Artwork, somebody sees it, it's like, oh, it's $25,000.
But then this goes back to the people part of marketing, because if you have something that people are going to pay $3,000 for, you're not getting the random person off the street to sell it. Like when I go into a store, they're selling really, like they're selling really expensive clothes. That person's like, oh, and this is this person's, I don't know any designer labels, but you know, oh, Pierre Cardin did this. He's probably dead, but whatever, you know, Calvin Klein or whoever did this. And this is another part of their line. And this would go good with these shoes. And oh, this person in the Oscars wore this. So if you're talking about more of a luxury item, or like in Todd's case, if she's talking about ultrasound, you're expecting people to be knowledgeable. It's not like, oh, let's just slap this thing on your belly here. No, you're probably not hiring somebody like that. So when you look at how you're positioning your marketing, it's going to relate to and who your clients are. Like if you're doing a daycare, you want somebody that looks like you would leave your kids with them. Yeah, I know. That would not be me either, because I would just keep saying to myself, do not swear in front of the children. Do not swear in front of the children.
The kids creative swearing.
And here's an interesting one, a platform. You might change from like selling online to selling in person or vice versa. Like for us, we started out selling things that were on the Mac and Windows, and then all the schools went to Chromebooks and iPads. And so we had to switch to stuff that you can download from the App Store, stuff you can play online. So that could be a pivot. We're still making games, but we're making them differently. It could be you switched from selling, a lot of people switch from selling in person to doing a lot of their sales online. Like with the Sync store, I say our MVP, our minimum viable product, would be start a store here, we sell a small amount, but then once we've got the process in place and the vendors and the people hired, then we can add a website where people could order stuff online from around the country. So that would be a pivot in terms of a new platform.
That's why I put in the pivot that they're gonna be college student workers.
Mhm.
To have them more knowledgeable of like, what class, what you think they'll need for that class, or like you
Right.
students. I mean, oh, I took that class, you're gonna need this.
Right.
Calculator for whatever math they're taking, or whatever. They're more knowledgeable.
Maurice?
How about putting it in the College of the Desert student store?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's our
Well,
students.
We're still.
Oh, you mean there, yeah, the College of the Desert student store could have a link to us, right? Because we're the ones that have the Native American artwork and stuff.
They talk about us on the news. so
Yeah.
We could have that in there.
Those are your big pivots. The very first thing you need to do, and this is the whole push behind the build, measure, learn, is you need to find product market fit. You'll hear this all the time. Product market fit is just a fancy way of saying, find something people will give you money for. You can have all kinds of things that seem like a nice idea, but would you actually pay money for them? And, pets.com was not just will they pay money, but will they pay enough money to be profitable? Pets.com, does anybody remember their sock puppet? They had some kind of sock puppet dog or something, and it was very popular. And I remember because pets.com used to be down the street from where we live. It was, I don't know, a couple miles away. And I remember when they closed down driving by, and there's all these moving vans because they raised a ton of money and they went bankrupt because their business model was terrible. They lost money on every sale. I know that old joke about we're going to make it up on volume, but people weren't willing to pay them enough money to make it profitable. So they never found product market fit. Do any of you have BarkBox?
My daughter did.
I am embarrassed to admit that we have it and everybody on our street has it.
They don't ship to Hawaii, so she has stock.
BarkBox, in case you don't know, is this very yuppie service where every month your dog gets a gift box with toys and treats in it. But they were smart. What they did is they targeted that high-end market. So they charge a lot of money for it. They're not just shipping dog food, right? They're shipping way overpriced stuff. And I told my husband, we do not need this. And he said the other.
That does makeup and stuff for girls. My sisters do that. I just steal their things.
Well, yeah, well, that makes sense because it's for humans, right?
No, that the products that they have are like, it's just crazy the amount of things you could never use it all.
Yeah.
It's like, really, you're gonna use blue eyeshadow?
I'll never forget when we were younger, one time these guys pulled up to the house, I was the youngest. Like, my sister was away and I was there at the house, I answered the door and I signed us up for this 3-month steak subscription.
How old were you?
I was like 12.
They let a 12-year-old sign up for a 3-month subscription?
I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Steaks are good.
Yeah, I was showing you the steaks. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So
Yeah.
for about 3 months we were getting steaks and my parents were like, what the hell? Would you sign us up for this?
But they're good.
Yeah. I was like, hey, look. I was like,
And that's why kids should not do that to the attendants.
Yeah, so do not sell to small children. So anyway, product market fit, you need to find something at a price that you can make money. So pets.com, they found lots of people that wanted to buy, order stuff from them, but when they started charging enough to make it worth, make it profitable, people didn't want to pay, $20 for 4 cans of dog food. Here's one of the reasons that people don't pivot is also one of the reasons that people don't start a company. It's fear of failure. They're worried if I say, I'm not going to sell to schools anymore, I'm going to start selling to textbook publishers, games that go along with their textbooks, that's going to make me look like, oh, I couldn't hack it. And there's some, I don't know if I believe it or not, there's some research that says that women are more likely to be afraid of failure. There's some research that says people from minority groups are more likely to be afraid of failure. I don't think that's the case as much as it's a reasonable assessment of risk. That if you don't fit the stereotype, it is going to be harder for you to get the income. It's like we were talking about before, raising money, and it says, most, you should do at least a 300,000 friends and family round. And some guy said, I don't know what kind of friends and family you think I got. So yeah, but it is the thing where people are afraid of admitting this was not a good idea. And see, now you told me he was your uncle, Bernie Thomas. He said, and I'm going to say this again, he said a really wise thing at that Tribal Leaders Congress. He was talking about climate change, but it applies to business or education or anything. He said, we cannot solve problems if we don't acknowledge them. And people are often afraid to admit, no one wants to buy my sock puppet turtles. Okay, so make sock puppet sloths or sell them to, the National Turtle Preservation Association or something. I just wanted to bring this up to you all because one of the things that people are afraid of is that they'll let their family down, that their family will be disappointed in them. And I know I was one of these people that I roped my family into founding this business with me, right? So there were times when, we were making the payroll out of our savings. And I'm thinking, what have I done? If this fails, not only will I not have made money, but I will have had my kid waste years of her life. I mean, these are things to think about, right? Or if I fail, I'll have to go back to my kids and they'll think I'm a loser. So my late father-in-law years ago started a business, DeMars TV and radio service. And it was a TV repair shop back in the day when people repaired their TVs. And it was okay for a while. And then TVs got to the point where it was cheaper just to throw it away and get a new one. And he went out of business. And not only did he go out of business, but he lost enough money that they lost their house and they had to move in with his in-laws. And so you might think there's a sad story here, but he went off and he got a job selling TVs and, did fine and bought another house. And when he passed away, my mother-in-law told my husband, is there anything in the house that you would like to have? We have enough junk in our house. And my husband said, yeah, I would like that sign from Dad's shop. Because he remembered, going there with his dad when he was a little kid, and he thought that was, really cool. And so he took it home, and our daughter, his granddaughter, comes in and she says, wow, cool. Grandpa had a company. So my point about this is sometimes we're afraid of failure and think that other people are going to look at us and say, oh, you tried having that store and it failed. You're a big loser. But a lot of people, there's jerks everywhere, right? But a lot of people are going to be like my daughter and go, wow, Dad tried this. That's really cool. Even if you didn't make it, a lot of people, even if you're not successful, they're going to be kind of jealous of you and admiring because you had the nerve to go out and do something that they know they themselves didn't have the nerve to do. So my whole point of that is often that fear of failure is very overrated.